Every professional is being pulled in a million different directions, and we have to constantly reprioritize what is worth our time on any given day. At universities and colleges, research versus teaching is the ongoing conundrum. Spending more time on one takes away from the other, and it can feel like a zero-sum game with you stuck in the middle. If it's your first time here, my name is Jack Wayne. I'm a microbiologist, science educator, and the 2020 Australian University Teacher of the Year. I'm a strong advocate for professional learning, especially for early career academics, but finding time to learn new skills is always the challenge. Over the next few videos, let's talk about the bridge between teaching and research, and how skill sets shared across these two domains can help find new synergies in your professional development. Today's focus is on communication. 5 tips for how to leverage teaching to improve your research communication skills. How nervous do you get before giving a talk? One of the biggest differences between communicating in research versus teaching is the assumption we start off with. In research, you can assume that those around you, at the very least, care about the project or topic you're working on and know about the foundational parameters of research in your field. There are acronyms and inside jokes you can lean on, and there's a basic safety net of understanding. Teaching is one of the best communication training programs you can experience in your research training, but teachers have to assume that students know nothing about the topic and maybe care even less about it. I spent a lot of time obsessing over how to pitch the topic in a way that's relevant to students' everyday lives. And this approach has bled over into my conference presentations and research seminars as well. Teaching other people about new concepts or skills really forces you to think about what your students know or don't care about. And that is the key to good communication. Tailoring what you say and how you say it to the right target audience. In research, there are many different target audiences you have to reach, with the general public arguably being the trickiest of all. Much of this boils down to how jargon-rich our scientific work is, but what counts as jargon and how much jargon is accepted. There is a growing movement to improve the readability of scientific writing, and Ricketson et al. 2017 have built an automatic jargon identifier. Their work involved compiling 90 million words published on BBC websites and validating it against 5,000 pieces of scientific writing. You can take advantage of these efforts through their Science and Public the Jargon, a free online tool linked below. Even if you think you've chosen the right words, how do you find the right forum to engage enough people outside of your field on a regular basis? Teaching, especially first-year teaching, is the closest thing to the general public we have regular access to in academia. First-year students often haven't decided on their major and can be interested in everything or nothing at all, depending on the day. It's a great chance for you to learn how to communicate the importance of your discipline to a disengaged or even unenthusiastic crowd, which is a good approximation of the general public at any point in time. Every time you step into a classroom in front of a new group of students, you have to make them care about your discipline and what you have to say. Sure, you get some battle scars along the way, but convincing people why your work is worthy of their attention is research in a nutshell. Seminars, conferences, grant panels, job interviews, it's the same challenge, just at different levels. You have to learn how to make people care about what you do. In research, we train to become specialists with a singular focus, but these specializations can work against us to limit connections with people outside of our field. In teaching, we're always trying to outline the big questions or problems in the field to set up the context for the curriculum, for then going in to describe the depth of detail for each individual topic. Knowing how to pitch your talks at the right level and strategically zooming out to focus on the big picture for zooming back in to talk about the details is a skill all effective communicators need in their arsenal. In first-year biology teaching, I need students to understand the intricate molecular process behind DNA replication. But before diving in, I take a step back to talk about the human element. Reiji Okazaki was a teenager living in Hiroshima, Japan during World War II, who grew up to become the driving force behind many pioneering experiments on DNA. His scientific career was cut short though in 1975 when he died of cancer at the age of 44, linked to the long-term effects of radiation exposure in Hiroshima. His work was continued by his wife, Tsuneko, and his colleagues, leaving an indelible mark on the field. After setting the scene, I introduce Okazaki fragments, small pieces of DNA named after Reiji and Tsuneko's work, a crucial piece of the puzzle in understanding how the leading and lagging strands of DNA were copied in different ways. A storytelling or narrative approach can be very engaging if done well, and the more you practice how to do this in teaching, the easier it will be to translate into your research talks. Whether it's in-person or online events, the vast majority of talks rely on audio-visual cues. Your presentation slides are how most people form their first impression of your communication abilities. You should be upfront about what you want audiences to take away from your talk. In teaching, we outline learning objectives at the start of each class, and this can be adapted to research questions or aims or hypotheses at the start of your seminar. In terms of the actual visual design of your slides, again, this is something that teachers have explored in depth on what works best. As I've talked about on this channel previously, Mayer's multimedia learning theory states that people learn better through multi-sensory presentation of audio and visual stimuli. You want your audience to be listening to you while looking at graphics on screen to facilitate dual channel processing of information to augment their understanding. Use photos and diagrams wherever possible to support or replace text, and embedding audio or video clips can help as well by presenting the same concept through different perspectives. A simple, uncluttered visual design works best, and each slide should have clear headings against the backdrop using a neutral color palette. In teaching, lecture slides are what students use to revise, so we highlight and re-emphasize core concepts to signal their importance. You should steal this idea for your research seminars as well. Highlight how each new research finding is connected to the next. Repeat your findings in the context of the aim or question to help to answer, and focus on this again as part of your conclusions. In research, we're painfully aware of what we don't know. Almost anything you can think of is a known unknown. So bear with me when I say that being able to highlight gaps in your existing knowledge is a valuable skill in both teaching and research. The reality is we almost never have the luxury of only teaching topics that we are experts in. Even if we already know a lot about the area, or have old lecture notes from other teachers to start with, knowledge is ever changing. Teachers are always looking for new angles to connect concepts to students' everyday lives, and the mad scramble to brush up on details before stepping in front of a room full of students never stops. Instead of looking up random lists of facts, it is more productive to formulate a strategy to fill specific gaps in our understanding. 5W+H is a common framework used in information gathering for journalists or police investigations, and is just as useful in our scientific or academic contexts. What was the central problem being investigated? When was the information first discovered? Who made the discovery, and where did a breakthrough happen? Why had no one else figured this out so far? And how were the methods they used different to others in the field? None of the answers to these questions should be simply yes or no, and should instead stimulate curiosity and even more questions. Slowly but surely, we can build a story around the lesson plan and promote an inquiry-driven mindset for students to learn about the material. This mindset is what you're already doing as a researcher in figuring out how to answer different parts of your research question, and being able to explicitly apply it towards your teaching can reinforce this way of thinking. Both teachers and researchers have committed to lifelong learning in their own way, but these paths intersect more than we realize. This is the BioLab Collective. I'm Jack Wayne, and I'll see you in the next video.